Okay, that should be the start. I aspire one of these days to start doing this a little bit earlier in the day. Got into a pattern of going to bed right about now, but I want to make sure to do these each day. So you might notice that my room is all shuffled around. I always have this tapestry in the back. Actually, this ring of lights is a beautiful job that my partner did for creating this lovely illusion of the lights sort of just popping out of nowhere. This beautiful ring of the sun in the middle of the tapestry. So the reason for the rearrangement was a challenge I ran into this morning. So when I came back from Mexico, from my time in Mexico, I talked about this. I think I may have been on day 2 of these live streams here. We came back with this immense kind of clarity about like, this is amazing. Being me is fine. This is great. Like all these flaws and these quirks and my desires, like this is wonderful. And there's a lot of deep acceptance. I think I'm sort of cutting off the top of my head there. There we go. And then I woke up this morning with a sense of, I feel kind of tired. I should make sure that I do my morning routine. Oh, I seem to be getting tense about that. Well, I should relax. Oh, I'm thinking a lot of should. There's something funny going on here. Well, what should I do about that? Oh no, am I slipping? And there's this, I could notice what was going on. Like this contraction around me being unacceptable and needing to change something. And like that being a contraction and going, well, I'm contracting. So what do I do about that? But I couldn't orient to that without contracting more. And so, and it was a very familiar state. It's one that I've gotten into a whole lot. It's this basic fear of that I'm doing it wrong, whatever it might be. Like there's some sort of cosmic play that says this is Michael's ideal life. And I have free will, and my free will allows me to mess up the plan. And so there's this anxiety of, but I want to follow the plan. Can I know the plan? Oh, asking about that is not part of the plan. And just a lot of anxiety about that. So I embodied that a whole lot before going to Mexico. And then I come back, and the room feels very different. I mentioned this over the last couple of days. Oh, this room feels so different. There's so much. I need to change this. I'm going to change it. So I started, and then finally today I got to meaningfully starting to rearrange it. But this morning I hadn't really gotten to that yet. I still haven't finished unpacking, honestly. And the weight of the familiar way of being in this room had started to hit me. And I didn't recognize it as that at first. It was more a sense of, I'm feeling this anxiety, and this anxiety is familiar. But after a while, I realized, oh, I think it's because I'm in the familiar environment where I spent so much time thinking and feeling this way, and it reminds me so vividly of that way of being that my body sort of recalls the sensations of holding myself that way and of stimulating those kinds of thoughts. It just sort of reactivated those patterns. There's still something missing, some kind of fuel or something, such that it couldn't stick, it couldn't survive. But I experience this a little bit like, in terms of thinking as though everything is vibration. Like, because it's as though matter is momentum of vibration, like vibration goes into it, some sort of tone. Like you paint a painting, and now the painting has a tone to it, and it keeps that tone for a long time, because the artist put their attention into it, and the attention had a quality to it. And that quality is what the art piece gives off after that. Okay? Or a piece of writing, or someone's living space, like the way that somebody is. Like people who have a kind of neglectful energy to them in terms of neglecting their physical environment end up having a very messy physical environments, because it just happens around them. So the space that they inhabit physically reflects what they are embodying at an energetic level, at the level of feeling the genres of music. And so this means that I find that when I go into a space and I stay there long enough, my body starts to absorb something of the frequency of the room, as though like everything hums with a certain note or something. And then I sort of take that on. So what that, where that left me is, in order for me to have the kind of sensations that I want, to maintain the sort of clarity that I want, I need to take that frequency of clarity and use that, embody that rather, embody it and let it come through me more than using it. And let that clarity rearrange what's here. So that instead of the room being made of artifacts of my way of being before I left, the room's design, what's imprinted on it, gets a whole lot of this new frequency that's incompatible with the thing that was there. Now, this is kind of this is an energetically fluid way of talking about it. I could just as well say, this room reminds me of my old way of being, and if I rearrange it, then it won't remind me so much, and it'll be easier to do sort of a mindset shift. And that's another way of talking about it. I had a conversation with a friend earlier today about why I prefer the kind of energetic language. So relating to the fact that, actually that may be a bigger philosophical discussion than I want to get into tonight. Yeah, I think I'm going to let that set aside for now. One piece that, except this dances with a puzzle that, like there were two significantly unpleasant energies that showed up in my body this morning. And in terms of wrestling with it and going, well, what do I do with this? The basic one of, okay, let me actually take action and start rearranging my room. It's like, okay, let me just get rid of the frequency of, am I doing it wrong? I just don't want that anymore. I'm done with that. I'm done with it. I want to clear it out. I have a bunch of habits that hover around in me. I have these imprints in my physical environment, and I just want to change it. But there was a second reaction, which was fear. I was afraid of getting locked into my old way of being, where I'm constantly afraid that I'm doing things wrong, constantly anxious that I'm doing things wrong. And that I would forget the feeling, the resonance of the insight that I had gotten, that I've talked about earlier here. Importantly, that I was talking about at an Airbnb I had never been at before. So to me, this is part of integration, of like going through some sort of big experience, getting an insight, an experiential insight, and then bringing it into the rest of my life requires this kind of dialogue with different ways that my body wants to be. So my reaction to that fear was a very fast, well, I don't want to look at that because this is focusing on the negative and it's strengthening it somehow. Because there's a way where I can sort of tune into that fear the same way I can tune into the frequency of contentment. Or I can tune into an archetype, like I was talking about, I think this was yesterday, like tuning into Venus, like sort of feeling out what is the archetypal resonance that I can bring into my body for that? What does that highlight in my life? What kinds of things does that invite? And if I do that with the fear, then like I'm somehow resonating with the fear. I'm encouraging being scared. Like that isn't quite what I'm trying to do. I'm not trying to bring in the fear. I'm not trying to amplify it. But the impulse is to dismiss it and ignore it because I don't want to feed it. And then it just kind of sits in the background and I'm nervous. The move that actually gave me space to breathe was when I was talking with some friends and we were checking in with each other about, so emotionally, physically, how are you feeling right now? Each of us having a chance to check in. When it got to me, because of some of the earnestness that some of them spoke with, it sort of prompted me. Oh. Excuse me. It prompted me to say, you know, I think that if I'm really honest, I feel scared. And in saying that and being honest with the energy of it, I felt really awkward because I'm not even fully conscious of what this is. I don't have a lot of a conscious story about this, but there's something about how it's like there's some part of me that wants to present to other people as though I'm really on top of the things that I'm doing. Hey, Taylor. So saying I feel scared felt like it was painful to a part of me. I think this usually gets tagged as the ego, like my self-image that I'm trying to protect for myself and my sense of how other people are viewing me. But there's something very, very beautiful about finding the tender thing that hurts to say, but it hurts good. It's not just being mean to me. Being able to say, I feel scared. And there's something about the kind of vulnerability and authenticity that allows for, a kind of ease, a sort of opening. It feels in my body an awful lot like the sort of ease and relaxation and opening that comes from grief. I don't quite understand this, but it feels like it's somehow really preciously important to what the difference is between when I focus on a frequency and I'm amplifying it and I'm calling it more into my body and into my being and I'm really ringing with it, versus when I focus on a frequency in order to sort of like to fully feel it, to go, yeah, I am scared. There's something about like plucking a guitar string that makes a note and then just sort of letting it die, letting the vibration ring out. I don't understand this part. Like I feel like I've come to a level of somatic, emotional, energetic processing where pieces of my ability to do this are a bit ahead of my mental understanding, which is fairly unusual for me. And it's also kind of exciting. Feels like I'm going into really new territory here. but there's also a kind of ignorance of even how, even at a somatic level. There's something of um, like I can feel that there is still more of these bits and pieces of what if I do it wrong? It's like these little whirring programs that are left over from when I was having all of these patterns blasted out of me. Um, like the root's been pulled, but there's still a bunch of little automatons that are running around in my energetic system that are related to the kind of contraction of, well, I need to, like, if I exercise regularly, then I'll have more energy and that'll help with my opening. And it just feels, it's very something. Counterproductive, I think is a good word. Um, and so there's some sort of different move that I'm learning how to make. And there's like excitement in my whole body and my my subtle body. I can totally see why the Buddhists wanted these names for these different bodies, and that the like I have this sense in the subtle body of a lot of excitement and a sorrow that is a relieving sorrow of what it means to fully grieve the pieces of my energetic system that haven't really gotten to fully be felt and heard, and to let them go. I know that at the other end of this, as I continue to develop skill with it, I'll be able to articulate this really well. That's just what I do. But I'm in this strange limbo space where I'm feeling the sense of it, of what it means to admit in the way that matters that I'm scared or that I'm shy. The ways where I feel clueless and like I shouldn't be, and to go, oh, it's not just to go with the mind, but to go with something much deeper, the sense of that's okay, to myself, that's okay. It's okay to be this way. It's okay to be scared. So this is a piece of my edge of like, where is this? How do I fit through this? Given the pace that this is going at, I expect within a week I'll be able to see what's going on here a lot more clearly. But that's definitely what's alive for me here. And yeah, there's on an intellectual level, there's for me an exciting point of I'm starting to see. So there's a part of me that's pausing because I'm recognizing a mixed audience. And so there's language that I want to use, and I realize, not everybody knows that language. I see a beautiful synthesis of a bunch of different pieces of philosophy that are lived for creating meaning. And I'm excited to pull that together. And I can feel when I'm trying to pull it together that I'm tugging a little bit and it hurts. So there's a patience and an immense impatience. But one of the pieces that I want to pull together is the way that all of this energetic sensitivity I've been talking about the last few days, and what it means to tune into frequencies and so on. There's an art form to this. Like I learned to do this, and I know how I learned. It doesn't require going to Mexico. It does require some kind of quality of paying attention. And doing that within a kind of framework does something really beautiful. I'm really looking forward to being able to share that more. I realize I'm speaking very abstractly because I keep noticing I'm bumping into energetic walls. in my stomach, like I'm forcing something. I'm feeling a little bit confused about that. That's what these practices are for. So I think I'm going to leave this pretty short. I'm going to start closing now. So if you've been watching, thanks for watching.